Hi everybody, coming in a couple of minutes early, just drinking my cup of tea. I'm a little bit brightly lit, I can see there, so I can see lots of you coming in the chat. Hi Megan. Okay, before I get going I just need to warn you, I don't know what it is, whenever I schedule one of these I then end up full of cold, so I'm bunged up with cold. I've dosed myself up. I'm just going to finish my tea off. So we're going to take it nice and steady this afternoon. So yeah. Oh. Okay, right. Hi, Sandra. Be trying to draw along today. It's been a while. That's fab. Hi, Lorna. Hi, Bev. Coming from Texas. Camilla. After 40 art. Hi all. Please let me know who you are. I don't like it when I don't know names. I don't want to say hi after 40 art. So let me know in the chat if you're going to join in with the draw along today, or if you're just watching, or if you're going to watch along and then maybe try it on catch up. Obviously we're not going to finish the whole piece today. Hi Steph. Hi Mrs. B8. Diane, Lynn, Jennifer, Newfoundland, Fab, Angie. Hi Harry. You've got Strathmore fine grain and colour arrays. Fabulous. Sorry you're not feeling well, that's fine. I'm used to it. Do you know what? Just over a week ago I was sat on the beach in the Mediterranean, and I think that's what it is. I've just come back and I've just gone because I was enjoying it so much. I'm going to try and keep up. We're going to take it nice and steady. Just call me Cat. Fab. I have to watch along. We'll catch up when my mother-in-law leaves. Excellent. Watching from Missouri, Angie. Watching and listening, drawing along on my own piece. Fabulous. Wicked. Fabulous. And Camilla, and any of you, whatever you've got, I'm going to... let's have a look. Let's just flip this over so you can see my prep. Drop me down out of the way. So as you can see, I'm working on anthracite pastel matte. It's not black, it's the really dark grey. If you haven't used pastel matte, it's just a really dark grey. So on this, well, on my screen I've tried to get it to match. It's a little bit warmer looking on my screen than it is in reality, but I've tried to colour match it up as close as possible with the editor, etc. this morning. So like I say, it's going to be quite true to colour, but I'll always try and do a scan afterwards anyway, and then like show you that I'm a little bit bright lit because I've got a really big studio light on this today because we're working on the darker paper. It just helps. I've got Christina coming in, joining in for line work on some colour pencil paper ready to go. Yeah, let me be watching and catching up. Yeah, ink Halloween pumpkins. Ooh, fun. Wish we'd done something with ink, it'd been much quicker. Paula coming in from Niagara Falls and Caroline in from West Coast of Canada, and you're going to attempt to draw along. So it doesn't matter if you're not using pastel matte today. If you are, fabulous. So if you're using any kind of textured paper, then you're going to be able to work from dark to light and you'll be able to use a lot more layers. If you're working on the smoother paper, just sit and think about it a little bit more before you put your pencil to paper. Make sure you're using nice light to medium pressure with your layers. And you're going to want to preserve some of your lights, because where I'm probably going to glaze, let's get my reference image in. So where I'm, obviously we're not going to finish it, where I've got my lights, I'm probably going to put those lights down and emphasise those quite late on. Whereas you guys, you want to put that light in there quite early on just to preserve it, and then work your darks up around it. But if you look at the darks, the reason I ended up going for this image, I took lots of photos last weekend, is because the reflection of the pumpkin and the surrounding foliage up into that lighter coloured little pumpkin or squash was so beautiful. I loved it. So what we're going to start off doing is we're going to start off with the negative space. So we're going to come in and we're going to start to build some of the shadows around the pumpkins first of all, around the bottom edge, a little bit up around the top, and then that will give us our outline. And I like to work like that, and then it kind of projects, it already creates depth. So it's all about your tonal values first. So we're going to sink a lot of this shadow back first of all. Obviously we've got a few leaves up here, and then we're going to come in and we're going to start to work on building up some of the pumpkins, plural. I don't know if there's a pumpkin, I don't know if there's a plural version of pumpkin. I think it's just pumpkins. Okay, so I'll drop back into the chat if you've got any specific questions. Obviously, we'll do about half an hour, and I'll say anyone got any questions. I'll try and keep an eye on the chat as we go along. But I'm going to get my pencils out and we're going to get going. So quick, one last sip. My hubby makes a very good cup of tea. So I transferred this over. I just used the printout of the line drawing. I rubbed some orange of my pencils that I'm using, which is the Chroma Fly. I just rubbed an orange over here, and I think I used like the Parmesan, which is their light yellowy creamy colour. I rubbed that over there as well, and I think I used a tiny touch of the peach sand as well, just in places, and then I flipped that over, and then I used a stylus and I transferred my image over, and that just saved me using the oh yeah, well done, Megan. Everyone, if you're in the chat, if it's defaulted to top chat, just check that your chat is saying live chat, not top chat. I usually start off by saying that to everyone. YouTube started redoing the default, so everyone comes in on top chat, and then I don't get to see everyone's chat. So if I could miss questions then, because I can't actually see them because they're not showing up. I've switched mine to live chat. Thank you very much. So, to get going on our dark area that I just said about, I'm going to use a mix of colours. So if you're using the Chroma Flow, I'm going to use black, but I'm using a blend of black. I'm using the black just to create a bit deeper tone, a bit of a deeper shade. So I'm going to use Raisin and Midnight Purple. So if you're using something like Polychromos, use your black with either a dark indigo and a Caput Mortum, or a Caput Mortum Violet will work really nicely. One of your deep purples will work nicely in there as well. So I'm just going to come in. I'll come in with the colour that I can see most in it, so that's the Midnight Purple. And I'm literally, light to medium pressure, I'm just going to start to come in and build a little bit of our shadow area up. So if you're doing this on the smoother paper, you're absolutely fine to do this on your darker areas. You can come in, work around, because you're just creating dark. You don't need to preserve any lights down here. No, you want to keep your eyes flicking back and forth to your reference photo all the time, and you're going to hear me repeat myself. Those of you that join me every month for the draw-alongs, you know I'm always repeating myself. Yep, huge thank you to Megan for reminding me on that one. So it's usually the first thing I say. Same as if anybody's watching this and they're over on my Patreon channel and they want to join in with the chat, please click through to YouTube, or you're not going to see or be able to join in with that chat. So as we come up around here, it's very much more red, much more reddish over in this area here. So I'm going to bring in the Raisin. So here's where you'll switch out and use something like your Caput Mortum and drop that one in instead. We've got some lovely red leaves over here, so all we're going to do to start with is just put in a little hint of that. Oh, there is some lovely purple running through the red as well. As you see, I've got the pencil held quite loosely, about 2/3 of the way up, so about halfway to 2/3 of the way up. That will mean that you're just putting down a light to medium pressure. Let me drop myself out of the way, because you can't quite see that corner, can you? Let me get rid of me. I quite like getting rid of me anyway. Let's get rid of me. There we go. And I'll make the reference a teeny little bit smaller. I'll adjust it when I come up around to that area. And let's just drop that down as well. There we go. Now you can see everything. Yeah, Angie, when we're doing the darks, like I say, you're fine. But when we switch, if you're on a smoother paper or on a light coloured paper, or if you're on light coloured paper, again, you might not need to go in. You might need to go in a little bit more with your black. Your colours might show up a little bit more vivid on a lighter coloured paper. Still the same colours, still put them down. You might need a more of a ratio of, say, 3 layers of black to 1 layer of red and 1 layer of purpley blue. Whereas with me, I'm probably going to use equal layers of each. So I'll put down, and I'm just going to tweak and adjust as I go along. So if you see a little bit more red in an area, yours is coming out a bit brighter, it doesn't matter. I want you to look at your reference photo as well. and like just see what your eyes try and match it up to. I can see much more orangey around here, so I'll probably bring an orange around there. I just want to try and get a little bit of colour down, and then this colour will then reflect up into that lovely white pumpkin there as well. I've got it, Megan. Thank you so much. Oh, so I'm going to put the raisin, the Caput Morton up through this leaf here as well. I think some of you might be using some Prismacolor today. So it's just like a real earthy, it's not a brown red. It's just, I suppose it's quite close to a chestnutty colour. I don't know the Prismacolor colours. If ever you're stuck, you know that you can always download Karen Hull's conversion charts, but she made those available for free, so you can, the ChromaFlow aren't on there, but if you're using something like the Lightfast or Polychromos, then there is a conversion chart on there, and you can convert to Prismacolor as well. So there you go, I've gone along the bottom there, and I very quickly just added in everywhere that I can see a little mix of our red as well. So now I'm going to come in over the top of the purple, the midnight purple, or your dark indigo, your dark, and I'll put a little bit of red into the mix, just to glaze over the top. Also, we've got the green leaves here as well, so I'm like I say, my eyes are just flicking back and forth, and this lovely reddish colour will mix. Hi Susan. The red will just mix with that lovely purple and make it lovely and rich. I didn't realise today that my nails were going to match as well. Totally unintentional. Okay, a little bit more down through here. Like I say, I'll glaze over the top of this with one of our orangey colours. Just skipping around our berries a little bit. Anywhere that I can see a little hint of that red down around there. So I'm just going to pop it in. Okay, I just need to get a tissue. I need to blow my nose. It's a good job I dropped myself off the screen so you don't have to see me. That's one thing I hate. I don't mind being in pain, but I really hate having a head cold. I really hate them. I don't mind if pain's in my leg or in my hand or anywhere else. But when I get a runny nose and things like that, I just hate it. Okay, so now, black. So we want our black, and the black is going to be used. You think of it that we're using it to mix our colour. Let's add another bit of light here, just so I'm not casting any shadow. There we go. There we go. Hi Classine. So we're going to use the black to mix and blend with the red and the purple, just to take it down. So we've got a reddish purple down, because those two have mixed together already. Now the black, and bring it in over the top. Still using that light to medium pressure. Probably putting a few more layers on there. Just keeping the pencil to the paper, still holding it quite loosely. Oh, I do as well, Angie. I've got a physical in-person workshop next week, a 2-day one, and I've got lots of work to do this week. Got a whole tutorial pulled together. Okay, so I'm coming in and around the leaves, and by sinking this all back, if you see any other colours in there, remember your printout or your screen might be showing your reference photo up a lot different in colour to the colours that I'm using. So don't be afraid if you suddenly see a colour that I'm not using and you think, actually I think it looks a bit more like that, then please do go and use it. Because I'm coming around that little stem there a little bit. Lots of other colours we can mix in here. I did debate doing this one as a limited palette. I did think about, oh, maybe we should just use our primaries and our black and white. And it would be a good one to tackle that way. Maybe we could revisit it and do that. So you see, I'm just bringing the black up and over and up and around, and I'll probably bring in a dark green. I tell you what would be lovely in there is a lovely racing green in the light fast range of the Derwent, which is a lovely greenish black, and that would look beautiful through there. So just going to come around the bottom. Can you see how that's just sinking that back down underneath as well? Hi Barbara. I want to bring something like a burnt ochre. Right, I'm going to bring this in over here as well, and then we'll glaze the reddish over the top again. Bring that up a little bit. So I'm using it, I'm not using it where I think there's black, I'm using it where I want a darker shade of the red or the purple. And it's a way of just building up richness into your darks. If you just come in with black, you're going to get one colour, you're just going to get it, it just look flat. And you want to get some lovely rich depth to it. Okay, so I want to bring in an orangey colour now. So if you're working with polychromos, bring in something like your burnt ochre or your terracotta. I'm just looking here at which one I'm going to bring in. I've got a little test sheet over on this side as well. So if I want to just double check, because I'm working on the anthracite colour, I think maybe just work it out to be able to chat. Oh, Ron, I owe you an email from this morning as well. I'll do it afterwards. Okay, so I always have a little piece of paper over here, same colour, and then I can just test out, is that the right one? Is that the right orange that I want there? Because I'm still quite new to the chroma flow. And obviously I haven't used them on this colour anthracite before. No, the first choice was the best one. So this is redwood. So something like a burnt ochre though, in the polychromos. So where I can see some orangey, I'm going to bring some orangey just really lightly, bring it in over the top, and then we'll lighten that up as well. We will lighten it. So you can see I'm just picking out everywhere that I can see hints of brighter orange in through there. Bright little bit just up there. A little edge. Keep looking at that reference. I mean, oh, I can see the yellows now. So we're working our way up. Those of you working on the lighter colour paper, like I say, yours will be looking a little bit brighter. And again, if you're using something like the polychromos, remember the polychromos are a little bit more translucent. These are going down quite... the chromos are lovely. They're very much like the Prismacolor. They go down really lovely and opaque and bright. They are lovely. So I'm dying now to come up in and around that pumpkin. I want to get some shadow around this side to give complete form to the pumpkin. Basically, I want to get a little bit of colour down all the way around to make our pumpkins pop forward. That is the main aim of what I'm trying to do from the outset here. So I get that little vein along there, up through the leaf, little touch of orange there. So I'm just picking out little hints, just looking, and your eyes gradually start to really pick out those colours. The more you look, the more you see them. I'm still using that lovely same light pressure. Now I want to get some of that green in as well, but let's come in and darken up a little bit more of the red again. So I'm going to come in, saying I'm darkening up with the, I'm coming in with the purple again first of all. So another glaze of the purple, because I really want to sink this back down again now. We're going to repeat those layers. If you feel like you've been a bit heavy-handed and yours is dark enough already, absolutely fine. You can go on to bring in some of those greens in down there. or if you're working on the smoother paper, Lorna, you're working on a commission. I think I saw what you were starting next on. Is there anybody else working on something else whilst I'm pumpkin in it? I need to drink a little bit more of my tea actually as well. Just come in and glaze over there. And pop some of this purple through this leaf here because I can see some of it there now. I didn't see it the first pass. Now I can see it more. Then I'm going to bring the red in over the top again. This isn't finished, this is just a nice little base down here. I just want to give ourselves something. So this is the red again, the raisin, or the caput mortem, whichever one you're using. Your chestnutty red. So I can see that wants some lovely bright red through there as well to add to the vibrancy. That's starting to smooth out nicely there now. But we can add as many layers as we want to. If we need to, we don't have to. We'll get some of that green in there next. I've got a commission, I'd love to have done pumpkins though. It is quite therapeutic, I must admit. I've got a commission just come in that I'm going to do for Christmas actually. A returning client from about 8 years ago I think. It's just come back to me, which is quite nice. Obviously most of my commission, well, if I do the odd commission, I've done one this year, and I'm going back to doing the odd commission. It is really from people that have either been waiting for a couple of years for me to do it, or returning clients. So I've got a lovely one that's come in, a beautiful German Shepherd puppy for Christmas. So I'm going to get the details of that one sorted this week. Okay, in with the black again now. So that's all we've done, we've just repeated those initial layers again. So let's come up, and this time I'm just going to bring this up around the edge of our orange pumpkin. I'm actually doing it on the lighter colour pumpkin, just a little hint to give a little foundation of that shape. I'm not using any more pressure here, just repeating the layers back and forth. Just to build up that shadow. Do you know what's quite interesting, Megan, was I had an email. It was an email, or it came through on YouTube, I think. That someone did say to me the other day that they'd just come across my channel by accident, and they said they were mesmerised, like as in they were really chilled out. And that's why I worry sometimes that maybe me doing this and me just chattering away as I do, that I just put people to sleep. Because they asked me if I'd be interested or if I ever thought about doing some of the. Alright, I'm just going to do that little bit around there as well, just add in a little hint of shadow there. Asked me if I wanted to do some of the ASMR, I think I've said that right, ASMR videos. And it is something we did look at a long time ago, because people have said, oh, I love your voice, and I could do like, you know, nice and slow motion, just with the pencils, and it is something I thought about doing once before, like I say, so maybe I'll revisit that idea. Okay, so I need to mix in over here some more of our raisin, so I'm going to alternate. I'll bring that raisin in over the top there as well. And the reason we're doing this, like I say, one, we want to get rid of the tooth of the paper, and two, we want to build up beautiful, rich depth of tone. And then eventually we will build up a lovely saturation of the colour as well. And I'm just rotating between the black and my red, just to deepen it up. And then I'll probably pull in some oranges as well later on. And that's just to sink that down. I'm just going to knock that out. You're working on aura. Oh, you're working on the crop, aren't you? Oh, I'm so excited to see that, Barbara. Are you enjoying it? Jules, you're working on an Inktober story. Don't normally work with illustrative. Fab, it's good to try something different. It's a nickname. Oh, I wonder where your nickname come from, Ron. I was meant to ask you. Looking forward to some real life in-person hugs next week as well with the workshop. Ron, I went shopping for biscuits yesterday with Mother. We've got you sorted. Okay, so I'm just bringing that up again. We could keep going here, but that is building up nicely now. Again, we'll probably do a few more layers down there. And look at that, we've lost half an hour already. So I'm just going to come around, increase the shadow a little bit more. Okay, so if you're working on a smoother paper, make sure you're only putting your shadow in very precisely. Obviously with mine, I can spill into the areas surrounding the shadow as well, because I know that I can bring colour and highlight over it. If you're using a smoother paper, just make sure you're being quite more precise with your lay down, because your paper and the tooth of the paper is not going to be quite as forgiving. Like, there's a little highlight around there. Make sure you just preserve that little highlight around there if you're working on the smoother paper. You could pop the highlight in now and then come up to it with your darker pencils. Anywhere that you can see it, same as your little highlights in the berries. We'll pop those in a second. Anyway, you want to make sure you get those highlights in. Oh, let me just, my tea's probably ice. It is cold now, but I'm still going to drink a little bit of it, just whilst I carry on with my pencil. Multitasking that. I find drawing still life so much, so therapeutic. It really is. So we don't put you to sleep. Still around this day, looking for inspiration, painting space. I've got to do my studio door. I know I've been saying that for ages. Excuse me, I've just got to blow my nose again. Excuse me. Oh dear me. Winter colds. Don't you just love them? I'm just thankful that it didn't turn out to be coronavirus again. Okay. We said, okay, I want to add a little bit of yellowy gold in through here, a little bit of green, just a hint, so that we've got some of our base colours in place, and I'll sort of pop in a little hint of highlight and shape of the berries. So I'm going to grab the white, or have I got a grey? Let me grab a light grey. What light greys have we got here? Oh, that one looks quite light. Okay, so I've got the platinum and the white. So you want a nice cool grey. We're just going to literally come in, look at your berries, and just pop in a little hint of where the highlight is hitting those berries on the outer edge. Just a little hint. A little one in there. And we'll brighten it up with a hint of white as well. So I took quite a few photos of the pumpkins. Whilst I'm here, I'm going to just sharpen up, because you see my pencil's a little bit blunt there. Let me just sharpen that one up. Yeah, slice work's really therapeutic as well. Hi Alison, you made it in, brilliant. So whilst I've got that sharpened up, I'm just going to come in really lightly over like the edge of the leaf there. We'll repeat these layers, so don't worry too much. Just to get a little hint. And we need to come up here with maybe like the parmesan or your ivory up here for the little highlight through there as well. I'll come in along the edge of that leaf. This is just where the light is hitting this side. I'm just giving it a little hint before I come in over the top with the green. So exactly the same if you're doing this with on smooth paper. Pop this little highlight edge in first. Just look at your reference photo first though, because then when we come in with the green over the top, this will just help, one, to have filled the tooth, and two, just to give it that lovely highlight. So we need more yellowy in through there. Oh, just the edge, the lovely edge. Remember I said about the edge of this little leaf here as well? We'll just do the edge of this leaf there. So when I took the photos, I took a few using a light from this side, and then I went out and I could see the late afternoon light coming in, the sunlight coming in through the blinds, open, and snapped 2 or 3 photos of the afternoon sun, and the afternoon sun was absolutely perfect. Okay, so a little bit hint here, just using that same light to medium pressure, and then if you need to increase the depth, you just do a few more layers. You can press a little harder if you like, and that should just start to lift some of those highlights there as well. I recommend getting some. You'll get to try them next week, Ron. You're going to be using, oh no you're not, you're going to be using Lightfast. I'll bring some ChromaFlow along next week. You're going to be using the Derwent Drawing and the Derwent Lightfast next week for the project in the workshop. If you've got the Lightfast, you don't really need to get the ChromaFlow. If you're just starting out, I think it's about 60% of these, the ChromaFlow are Lightfast. They mix and blend beautifully. Like I say, they were brought out to rival the Prismacolor, so they're closest to the Prismacolor. They are lovely and opaque, but if you've already splurged and you've got the Lightfast, don't worry about getting the ChromaFlow. But if you haven't got the Lightfast and you can't quite afford those, I mean, I know I was in the range yesterday, you get a set of 12 of these ChromaFlow in the range at the moment for £12.99, so it's just over £1 a pencil, which is fantastic. So I'll just brighten up a couple of those highlights with a little twizzle, a bit of white, just a little bit, tiny bit on an edge there, yeah, a little bit on that edge there. So I've taken my edge a little bit bigger, but that's fine because I need to overlap into the area either side, and then I'll push my red up over the top again. Right. Okay, so I want a yellowy colour in there. I'm going to pick up, what have I got? I've got a sunflower. Let me just see if this sunflower is going to be the right, I think it is. So the sunflower, and I'm going to mix it with that redwood that we used earlier over here. So I'm going to add in a little bit of our yellow, and then we'll add in a little bit of our green as well. A combination of polychromos, prisms on this, white Strathmore. I think I need to use more pressure. Yeah, that's fine. This is not halfway done. We're just putting hints of it in. I could repeat. So if you bring yourself, you want to get, this is kind of what I call the foundation. And then if you get your foundation in, then you can go in and really like add a little bit more pressure if you want to. My paper has obviously got a lot more grip than maybe the the Strathmore has. So I'm just going to bring in some of this yellow now, and what I'm going to do, this is the sunflower, I'm going to bring it in over my red, or my orangey red in places as well. So there's a little hint there as well. Pop a little bit up through that leaf. And what we'll do is we'll just repeat, because I can see how grainy it is as well. We'll repeat the red over the top, but just be careful, like say if you're using something like the Strathmore, just, you want that lovely light touch, because as I say, you want to be able to mix and blend. It's just on, especially on the anthracite pastel mat, the anthracite has got more tooth than the lighter colours. So mine is going to demand, well, it can, well mine will accept more layers. So here I'm just literally coming in anywhere that I can see hints of a light yellowy orange. I'm just going to add in some of this. I'm going to sharpen it up a bit. Lynn, if you go on to, I've just done some blogs for Ken Bromley, and the first one I did a comparison of, I've just broken my pencil now, bear with me, I did a comparison of the Lightfast, the drawing and the chroma flow, and included on there was, I did include the chart, the colour chart, but you can get it off the Derwent site as well, not a problem. It's alright, I decided to break my pencil there for some reason, so I'm just going to sharpen that one up. There we go. So a little glaze, anywhere that I can see a little hint. So yeah, if you go to Ken Bromley and put blog, Ken Bromley blog, you'll see that I had a blog post go out on Friday, and that one was to do with pressure testing. I've got another one coming out on the 4th, which is all about different pencil strokes, and there's a couple of videos with that one. And then the one that came out, I think last week on the 21st, that one is the comparison that I did of the three different Derwent pencils, types of pencils that I use the most in my work. I'm starting to use these more, I do like them. I just think it's nice to just show, I always try and stick to just like a brand when I'm doing something like a tutorial or something, because it's not fair to mix too many. But you will find in the book that I did actually let myself go a little bit and had fun and had the freedom to use a little bit more. So I'm just adding a little touch of this sunflower, a little bit of yellow just up around there as we come up and around our pumpkin a little bit more to outline it even more. Bet you're thinking, oh, we're supposed to be drawing pumpkins and she hasn't even touched the pumpkins yet. Okay, so I'll just bring that up around. A little hint of yellow around there as well. But by drawing the negative space, we're creating the pumpkins. A little bit of yellow just through that leaf there. A little touch just through there. And now what I'm going to do is I'll probably start to see the colours in the pumpkin themselves. So what I'll do is I can see that that yellow is in this pumpkin and this one. So I'm going to put that one to one side, the sunflower, and then I know that's part of my colour choice when I come into this area. So I just need to come back in now with your burnt ochre or your orangey colour. Mine was the redwood, remember. I'll bring that in over the top of that yellow, and that will mix and blend. Soften it down, and then if you need it more yellowy again, you just come back in over the top with that yellow. If it goes too red, you go add a bit more yellow in. If you go too yellow, add a bit more red in. And it's all just about tweaking and mixing as you go along. So we need to come in and add some dark to those berries, and then a little bit of green, and then we're going to definitely come up into those pumpkins. Okay, so I've put that one there as well because I can see that in those pumpkins as well. Oh, I'm glad you love it, Lynn. It's such a relief to have it out there. Okay, so just sharpen up my black a little bit. And let's just get a little hint of some shadow in on these berries. So if you put in a little bit too much of a highlight, here's where you can come in and you can correct it with your darker pencil. We'll probably come in there with a little bit of colour as well, but for now it's just, like I say, just to give it a little foundation, just to get something there. Make sure you've got a nice, you're being nice and precise here. So I just need to correct that highlight a little bit, so I can just come in around it. We'll move up to this berry. It doesn't need to be exact, we're just following, using the reference. Reference is that, it's just reference, it's just a guide. You know, inject your own style into it as much as you like. And that's the joy of creating. If we all created the same, the world would look very boring if everybody's piece came out looking exactly the same. It's great for learning technique, following the tutorials, it's great for learning technique, but like I say, if you see more colours in this than I'm using, different colours, grab them. I would love, oh, I can see I need to put some purple in through here as well, so later on I'll probably come in and pop some purple in here. Let's darken up underneath that leaf again. So the whole time all we're doing is it's like fiddling with the button on the remote control, we're just adjusting the contrast all the time. Take that even darker around there, even darker. I want to get some lovely bright reds in through there as well. Just going to really darken that up through there now. Just using a tiny bit more pressure there. Because I can see that I really just want to take it super, super dark. I'm not pressing super hard because I'm still holding it about a third of the way up. Bit of shadow in the underneath of those leaves. Really want to darken this up. And then we need to put some lights in there as well. So if you've preserved your lights, make sure that you're trying to colour match up nicely, because there's a lovely little bit of orange light in there as well that we want to try and capture. But this is mainly, like I say, about trying to push the shadow back, and by doing so it makes our big main shapes pop forward. Because you'll find then if you do it this way, it creates less work then when you actually get to the main. If you start straight in on the main subject, you can put a lot of pressure on yourself then, and by doing this you've already made sure that you've got a correct outline, and you've not messed up any of your main shape because you haven't even started in there. But in a way you have, because you're doing all the outline, you're giving it form without really realising it. So let's come in here. There we go. So I'm just going in and around the top area of our pumpkin, our big orange pumpkin, and that's giving it its outline. Fab. And the same here, so add a little touch. This is just the black. I'm just using it really light pressure. Just to come in here. Come in with a dark green if you like. There. Through a pastel mat, and I bought some to try. I always preserve the lights before I even touch my dark, so it's counterintuitive to what I typically do. I'm enjoying this. You can still, of course, Rhonda. Excuse me, I was going to blow my nose again. Excuse me, I was going to mute the mute the mic as well. Stupid cold. Yeah, so Rhonda, you can work light to dark if you want. It's just pastel matte and textured papers do allow you to work this way. So I tend to build up all my darks and then I glaze my colours over the top, very much like a painter. So you can work either way, and that's the fact with pastel matte, it's so forgiving. Right, I'm just going to add a little touch of green, like I say, and then we're going to come up and start to build. I think we're going to work on building some of the, we'll work, when we get to this one, and let's put our lights in, some of our lights in early on. Hi Jean, following from the Netherlands. And Michelle, fabulous. Right, so I'm just going to test out my greens over here as well, so let's have a look. I'm looking for these greens down here, these ones here. So that's quite a nice dark one. Let me just have a look at this one here for the lighter. Not quite greeny enough. Let's try this one. Yeah, I think all of them mixed together. So again, they're a little bit blunt, so let me just sharpen those up, because I want to come in quite precise, because I'm only working on quite a small area as well. I'll use blunt pencils. If I'm working on a bigger area, I'll use blunt pencils. It's absolutely fine, or rounded pencils, because it fills the area quicker. But because this is quite a small piece, I want to come in a little bit more precise. So I'm using obsidian green. It's just a really dark pineish green if you're working with your polychromos. So I'm coming in, remember we added a little tiny touch of black down through here. So coming in over those darker areas and just increasing it. Now if you're working on the smoother paper, do this the opposite way. Get your highlight down, then come in with the next green down. Here I've got a lemon lime and a pickle. So it's kind of like I've got a bright yellowish green here, and then quite a grey green, a dark grey green. So you want something that it matches quite close to that foliage. So bring in a little bit of dark. Bring in a little bit more black in there just to take that down a shade. And then I will bring my lighter greens in over the top. And again, this is just a foundation. This is not the finish at all. It's just to give us some of those, because I can now see some of those. As soon as I put these greens in, I can see some of these greens reflected up into this pumpkin. Jeanette. Jeanette. Okay, so next I'll bring in that pickle. The pickle is the good thing as well, like say if you get that colour chart for these chroma flow, and like say then you can see which ones are light fast. If you're not bothered, if you're just practicing, you're not worried about the light fastness, absolutely fine anyway. If you think, well actually I'm not going to sell the original, I'm just going to make prints, again, you haven't got to worry about the light fastness, but 60% of them are light fast. So, and there's some lovely colours in there. There's a pebble that I really love. And there's a red here that I've pulled out to use, and the yellow, the sunflower, and there's a strawberry red, I think it is, and there's another red, and it's quite hard to get a red that is light fast, and it's not going to fade, and they've actually got them in this range, so okay, so a little hint there of the leaves, and then I'll come in with the yellowy green, which is a lemon lime, just over the top. But like I said, this is just a foundation. Then we'll come in and we'll come back in and we'll repeat some of these layers, put in a few more details as well. Repeat the darks as well. So we need some more dark and more reds in around here as well, just to sink that back. Okay, so I think we stop down there, but I'm going to keep hold of this green, the pickle green, which is the greyish green. I'm pulling that one out as well to reflect up into this pumpkin here. Yeah, chrome flow wax based. Obviously they've got wax and oil in there, but they are the wax based ones, let's say, so that they do rival the Prismacolor as closely as possible. Very, very similar in opaqueness and the rich, I was going to say the rich creaminess and the rich creaminess, and they blend really well. So slow, follow up. No, honestly, Jeanette, it's just, you don't have to rush at all. I'm going quite quickly today because obviously we haven't got a huge amount of time. This is just to show you the principle. So this is what I would call a foundation down here now. This isn't finished, we're just starting to build the tone, build in some of our colours. We then come in, you know, we'd mix and blend and start putting in more details and building this up even more. But this is just to make our pumpkins pop forward. So I'll come up here now, I'm going to move up here. I haven't actually got any glassine paper to hand. Let me... I was going to get a little bit of copier paper under my hand there. There we go, just so I'm not going to smudge around. Okay, so, Michelle, I've probably been drawing, right, before I'll chat to you, let me just pull out my next colour, and then I'll come back in. I'm going to pull in my black and that obsidian green again, and I'm going to come up to this area up here and just sink this shadow in up here as well, and then we've pretty much got the whole of the pumpkins outlined with some kind of colour. So let me just sharpen that one up. So I've been drawing since I was a little girl, and I've been drawing animals. They're always my favourites since I was a little girl. Right, I'm going to bring the black in first of all. And when I left school, age 16, I went on to study at college. I studied my A-levels, and I did art, and I did fashion and textiles. And then I think I took a year out. I was ill for a year, and then I went to art college, and I did my art foundation. But I started to get told that, you know, and your confidence starts to get knocked, that I couldn't see colour, and I couldn't draw, and I couldn't see colour. So I ended up doing flat textile design, and I went to college and I did my degree in fashion and textiles, and that was back in '92. I graduated and went on to do costume design, etc. Oh, I need some more yellows and reds through here. Costume design, but then by then I'd fallen out of love really with being creative, so I kind of walked away from it all. And then 10 years ago, I'd been having mental health problems for recurring for every couple of years, and it turned out that my father had died suddenly when I was 16, and I'd never ever grieved properly. So to help me, I took counselling, and to help me, my counsellor said, get back in touch with your creative. And my work were amazing, and basically I bought my first set of pencils 10 years ago this year, in August, 10 years ago. So the book coming out, I've just gone wandering up here now. So the book coming out this year marks the 10-year anniversary of when I bought my first set of pencils, and I guess I tried to make up for lost time. I went too fast, too quickly, if there is such a thing, and I just threw myself in. So here you can just see I'm just letting this pencil dance light to medium pressure. Everywhere that I can see dark shadow, this is the black. I'm just bringing it in to sink all of this back. And yeah, I don't get to draw every day, which is a sad thing because the business obviously took off. I've been teaching full time for the last 5 years, I'd say. Obviously, animals is my main thing, but I must admit I absolutely love it when we do something like this. Right, I'm bringing in the obsidian green now as well. I'm going to bring this in over the top of some of those darks. And look, without even realising it, we've just created another pumpkin. Up there, we've created another squash. Let me just move the reference. I'm going to move the reference down to the bottom of the screen a second whilst we're working on that area up there, and then I'll move it back when we're working on the pumpkins. Okay, so that's kind of like a brief history, I guess, of how I got going. The main thing, I guess, is I absolutely love my subject. I love animals, and to be able to draw the animals, especially like give animals, rare species, give them a voice through my work and fundraise, etc., has been amazing. Okay, so if you're working on this, I just ended up doing the whole pumpkin there really. If you're working on the smoother paper, try and get some of your lighter colours in here and then come in over the top with your darker greens and your black, or a really deep green. I'm going to bring in a little touch of like a browny ochre and some of that, I think some of that, you know, that lime yellow green, that'll be nice up here as well. I didn't intend to come up and do this. This is the thing. Let it take you. You can have a plan with your work, but if it starts to take you in a different direction, just go with it, because I've quite enjoyed just doing that little pumpkin up there now. I'm just going to strengthen up a little bit of the dark. And then I'll come in a little bit with the limey yellow green. Possibly a little bit of our parmesan or our ivory. But with the drawing, I mean, it's all about just jump in. There's no right or wrong. You haven't got to create a masterpiece with every piece that you do. Try not to put too well. I put pressure on myself, because if you don't put a little bit of pressure on yourself, then you don't seek to try and improve with every piece, and then you don't learn from every piece. But sometimes you don't have to learn with every single piece. You can just have fun. You can just let go. You can just draw for you. You don't have the pressure. You don't have to put every single thing that you do even out on social media. You just do what you want to do. If it's just doing it for yourself to bring joy, don't let anyone steal that joy. So a little bit of that lemony lime, so the lemon lime. I haven't had that issue yet, Megan. I'm guessing maybe, well, in theory, because they are so close in theory to, I'm adding some little touches of this up through here. In theory, because they are, you know, set to rival the Prismacolor, then I'm guessing that possibly you can get the wax bloom. Wax bloom is not something I've ever had to deal with, because obviously I've never used really like the Prismacolor, and those are the pencils mainly that people have that issue with. So until I ever confront that issue, and then I'll be like everyone else, I'll be Googling, what do I do? I know people can like use the tissue over the top, smooth it out, wipe it off. I don't know. I guess we shall see. In time we shall see. Or if there's anyone that is using these quite a lot, maybe they've already noticed it. Okay, so I need a light up through there. Now I've got, do I want the grey? And I also want a little hint of, I'm bringing out a mocha, so something like a bister in the Prismacolor. I'm just going to drop this into where I can see like browny beige there in the middle. And then I'm going to bring my light in over the top again. A little bit of this. Again, this is just a foundation, this is not finishing this piece, because I can still see the toothiness up through here. But it's given us a nice little hint. So this is softening back that lemon lime. If it softens back too much, you just go in and add a little bit more of the lemon lime over the top. That just softens it down a little bit. Lovely. And then, I think for the highlighty bit, I'll come in with the Parmesan. So Parmesan is quite yellowy. Obviously Parmesan, cheese. This is the only one that I miss. I'd pull in an ivory. The peach sand is another light. That's a little bit, like I say, it's peachy. The Parmesan is a little bit yellowy. I'm going to see what it's like actually on the pastel. I think on this dark pastel matte it's actually okay. It's almost like the dark grey anthracite kind of neutralises the yellowiness a little bit, which is quite good. So I'm here, I'm just going to do a little loose, little squiggles, just really loose. I'm just popping in over the top some of those little highlight, well not highlights, the lighter markings on that squish squash. So what you'll do up there is basically, if you're working on the textured paper, you'd repeat the whole of that process again until you're happy with the resulting texture. I don't use an eraser when working on pastel matte. Now that needs a little bit more yellow in there, so there's that yellow line, lemon line. I need a bit more yellowy in through there. I need something for the Parmesan to mix with, and there was nothing there. Don't want to just go in with straight Parmesan on the paper there. There we go. So then this will come in over the top, just doing really loose little squiggles there. I must stop and just get a quick drink. I'll stop in a second, but I can see how grainy the tooth is of the paper. If you're using something like the pastel matte board, there's less tooth. If you're using smoother paper, you could come in now with a heavier pressure. Once you've got your foundation colours, etc. in place, and you're happy with them, then you could come in and either burnish using a nice heavy pressure, or just come in and start to use a bit of a heavier pressure where you know that it doesn't matter if you're crushing the last bit of the tooth. Okay, so that's created a hint of that one up there. I'm just going to have a little sip of my drink. Not my cold tea. So anyone's got any questions, we're an hour in already. So I just pull that away a second. And then I'll move this back up. So you can see I've got a little hint of, you know, form coming together there. So take this, you know, go wherever you want to go with it. I'm going to pop my reference up in that corner a moment. And then what we're going to do is come in. Actually, if I do that, I can make our little white pumpkin a little bit bigger. I want to come in and just start to add a little bit of highlight, etc. in through here now. Oh, you're doing yours on the black paper. Fab, Deb. I almost switched out yesterday. I was looking at the, excuse me, I was looking at the Derwent black mixed media paper. But that's going to be, I'm going to use that for our next DrawAlong over on Patreon next month. And we're going to probably use the Chromaflow or the metallics, and we're going to do a jellyfish, I think, on that black paper because it's so smooth. And I'm quite excited. And I almost used it for this. I was like, no, because I haven't told everyone I'm using black. I want you just to take a little bit of notice here. If I just move that back out of the way again. Can you see these little white marks? Yeah, I can zoom in a tiny bit. Let me zoom in. I don't want to mess the camera up too much. So, you see the little white chips? Okay, there's one here, here, here. Now, this is an issue with some pastel matte. You will see it. I can see it obviously with the naked eye before I started. It doesn't bother me because I know that those little marks I can work over. But you can get some that are quite big chips with big areas of pigment missing. You can use something like a workable fixative to help you. But to be honest, if you're doing a commission or a piece that's for sale, I'd avoid using that area because the problem might exacerbate. Tiny little ones like this, absolutely fine. Okay, let's have a look at this one here. So we're going to work the opposite on this one then. So for all of you that, I know I need a little bit more work around this area, a little bit of green and that. But we're fine. Let's come in and get on with the pumpkin. We're supposed to be drawing pumpkins. Let's get my reference back in. Let's drag it down a little bit bigger. There we go. So, I want to add in some of the highlight first. So those of you, we're going to work exactly the same now. Those of you on the smooth as well. I'm going to bring in the white. If you've got ivory or something, bring in the ivory. No, not the ivory. Cold grey one, possibly. No, ivory would be fine in the polychromos. So I'll use the white, but I'm going to use it really, really lightly. So everywhere that I can see the highlight, again, like we did on the leaves down here and the berries, we're just going to come in, because we'll put colour in over the top. So like we use black to mix in and create a shade, our colour will mix with our white or our ivory, and it will create a light tone of whatever colour we put in over the top. So I'm kind of sketching this out everywhere that I can see the brightest light. And remember, the light is hitting the berries on this side down here, so we're going to make the light hit this side of those, what you call it, it's not a seam, or the lumpy bumpy bit, you know, so this segment, so the left hand segment we'll be making look nice and bright. So keep an eye on your reference, because we're not going to put it all over, we're only going to put it on that bright area. Now this is where I wish I had more pigment. I like to create all the pigment around here, around the whole of the pumpkin, and then when I start to put the subject down itself, it wouldn't be grainy. This is quite grainy, so I'm not getting a smooth meat up. So this is why I would really like to have finished that background area or got something else in there. In fact, I'm just going to pop a little hint. I know it's not all yellow down around here. I'm just going to pop a little hint of yellow down around that outside edge, because it is going to bug me otherwise if I haven't got something down there. Okay, so now I've got something to meet up to. It's still not ideal because it's not finished around there. You don't have to do that, it's just something I like to have. So, right. Remember, this isn't going to be left white or ivory. We're going to mix colour in over the top. So just to get those lovely segments in. I remember to say segments that time. So look at that reference. Look at those shapes. Okay. And as your eyes are looking at this, you should be then starting to see, oh, I can see a little bit of yellow up on that edge there. I can see some grey, some darker grey. Start to look for those lovely colours you're going to mix in. So just popping this in where that highlight is. Oh, my nose again, excuse me. Hi Susan. Okay, so we've got this one down here, it's quite a strong one. Yes, I'll say we're going to work on, I haven't worked on the Derwent Black Mixed Media paper yet, but it's the closest I think to working on Black Mount Board, which I love. So the DrawAlong for Patreon next month, so saying it's probably going to be a jellyfish that I took photos of last week on holiday, and we're going to go for some vibrant. I was looking at that, or we're going to do hummingbird using metallics, because that works beautifully on that paper as well, and the metallics do blend beautifully with these chroma flows. So I'm going to have a play, but in the meantime I've got a portrait of a black dog on suede matte board to be getting on with and hopefully finished quite quickly. Okay, so over here, I'm just going to do a light glaze again, see where I'm holding my pencil, quite loosely, and I'll bring this up around here. So remember, we're not using the white as a flat white colour, we're using it, and it's going to mix with any colour we now put in over the top. Or if you're using that cool grey one, or even your ivory, you could come in with your ivory and then bring your white in over the top, and basically all you're doing is just using your white to make your ivory an even lighter tint. Okay. Bring that down there. Just keep looking at that reference. Don't lose your way on your reference. And that's pretty much everything everywhere that we need to add with white, really. Put a little bit more down there. But look at that. Look at the dimension that has given it already. I know it's on the anthracite, but which has given a hint of the shade. But that has just been so effective. I love it. So if you're working on the smoother papers now, you want to work your way down. So if you the next lighter colour that you can see, which is going to be possibly like one of your yellowy colours. Let's bring this back down. So you've got your lovely yellowy colours. You want to start to bring that in over the top of the white and the ivory, and then glaze the two. And then you'll come in, and this is like a warm grey 3, 4 coming in here then. Little hints of burnt ochre in there through as well, especially here where you've got the reflection. Maybe an orange glaze over the top. And then coming down into like a kaput mortar and coming up out of those shadows. So we're going to work similarly on the textured paper, but not exactly the same. So the next colour that I can see, because we can glaze over the top again with our lights, that's the thing. So I can put in my colours and then come in over the top. So I'm pulling out that sunflower. Remember I put a few colours over here to one side. So I'm going to pull in and pick out everywhere that I can see little hints. So look how loosely I'm holding it right up here. So I'm going to pop in a hint of some of our yellow. This is going down quite bright, it's fine. A little hint of yellow up over the top there. I've got grey through that little hint of yellow here. And I can see some of that lime green down there as well, to be honest. And I think that's because it's reflecting the leaf. So look, this is a great one for basically everything. Even fur, dog's fur, etc. It reflects what's around it. So if a dog is sat on the grass, then it'll have green reflecting up into it. If it's a dog that's out in the sun, it'll have the reds and even the blue from the sky reflecting sometimes. There's always reflection of what's surrounding the object. Just get a shiny ball or something that really shows it off. Okay, so I'm literally popping in some hints of this colour. Everywhere that I can see a little hint of the yellow, I'm just popping it in. I'm not thinking of what my subject is at all. I'm just coming in and picking out where I can see some of that colour. Everyone's gone very quiet in the chat. I've either frightened you all away, or I have put you all to sleep. A little bit more. Now I can see here, remember I was saying about problems with the paper. Now as I'm adding pigment here, there's a scratch line appearing, and that is a fault in the paper. Now sometimes these things don't appear until about 10-12 hours into a piece. It's fine, because again I know that we can raise our pigment pencil up and use the point, and we'll be able to fill that line in. But sometimes if you're not sure, if you're new to the paper and that suddenly appears, you can go and it can be quite scary, because you think, oh my god, what am I going to do? It's ruined. But you can't. You can work around it. So a little touch everywhere I can see hints of this yellow. I'm popping it in. I need to get some oranges in here as well, and some greys. So even though I've got the grey of the paper, we've still got to cover the whole area. Can't just leave it. Really loosely. You notice as my pencil doesn't leave the paper. I'm creating smoothness. I'll take you through that in the book as well. We're just working straight onto the pastel mat, Michelle. We haven't done anything to make it smooth. To make it smooth, we just keep building these layers, and gradually the tooth of the paper will fill and it smooths out. Okay. Right, so next I'm going to bring in some of that redwood. Remember the red that we used down here? So you could put mortem. I'm going to bring in some hints of this down here as well. Bring this in around the bottom. So everywhere that you can see some of the orange reflected up, start to bring it in. We're going to mix in a grey down here as well. Nice and steady. Just don't think about your subject at all. I think I need some more light on there. Yes, let me bring a little bit more light in here. I didn't quite widen that enough. That's just the white I've just gone back in there with then. Didn't quite bring it over enough. That's better. That's better. So that's the lovely thing about pastel marks, you can just self-correct. And same as like don't go in too heavy-handed, because again, going too fast, too heavy, then you'd lose the ability then to self-correct. I'm going to pop a little hint of this up through our stem. Just a little hint up through that little twisty stem there. Oh, and then I can see some orange in here, that central area. That's a reflection of the stem into this little dip. Can't see any that side. Little tiny bit up on that top edge. And that's because it's probably reflecting this pumpkin up behind. So we'll put a little hint of that one in there as well. I'm always looking at the next area as well, because each area, obviously, like I say, with the reflection, etc., it all affects. Oh, you can't see me doing that bit. I won't go up there anymore. Okay, so we've got some orange here, reflecting from this pumpkin on the right. Now I need a brighter orange through here. So whilst this one is lovely and dull, don't worry about any of these little dips and textures, we're going to add those at the end. All we're trying to get here is the tone and the colour of our main subject. So a little bit around the bottom here. And then we're going to, I think we want a nice bright orange, so I'm going to pull in a different orange. In the meantime, I'm just going to mute and I'm going to sort myself out again. Bear with me. Okay, I'm back with you. Bought your book, I really enjoyed it. Of the variety of products and the cat you added ink to its fur. Remember Miss Amelia using different, but yeah, do you know what? I need to do another inky piece. Because they are such fun to do. Right, I'm going to pull in a brighter orange. So I'm looking at my oranges, and the brightest one there is Flame, which is obviously a red. But if I try it over here, it's a lovely, lovely bright orange, and I need that because this pumpkin here on the right is so bright. The reflection up through here needs to reflect that. Okay, so I'm going to come in, and we're going to, oh, that is lovely, that is scrummy. And this I can see now in other places as well. It's like, oh, I can see a little hint of it just down here. So I want to pop a little hint of it down in there. So this is the great thing, as soon as you bring in another colour, all of a sudden then you go, oh, I can see that there, I can see a little bit there. and you'll start to just add it in other places as well. I mean, we know it's in here, and it's possibly up here as well, but until you put it down on your main subject, you can't quite see it. Once it's down, then all of a sudden you see it everywhere. It's like, oh wow. Let's say people coming on the workshop next week as well. Once they're on the workshop, it's usually the people that are nervous from the outset, saying, I can't see colour, I can't see it. Usually by the finish, they're the ones that can see the most colours, which is fab. You can teach yourself to see colours. And learning your palette of your pencils as well really helps. Obviously I started out with a Faber-Castell, so I know my Faber-Castells inside and out, and I could stick with them. I love the Lightfast. Starting to really like these Chrome Flow. I love the Derwent drawings. But I love the watercolour pencils as well. So I'm looking to see if there's any little hint here, not too much. Possibly a little hint up through here. No, actually, no, wrong orange. There is definitely a little hint reflected up in our stem. So I'll pop a little bit through there. That's fine. Anywhere else? Yeah, we know it's over in this pumpkin. In fact, let's just map this pumpkin in as well. You want to be able to see me? Right, I'll have to move the reference back again now then. I'll make it a little bit smaller. Just, there we go, so you can see what I'm doing. So you can see here this lovely orange glow reflecting up through there. Lost the video feed. How long did you lose it for, Megan? Let me just check. Has anyone else had a problem? My stream is saying healthy all the way through. It hasn't said anything different. I'll keep an eye on it. Let me just drop that down. We've got new internet here, so we've got super fast broadband now. We had it all upgraded about 3 weeks ago. So let me know, anybody else, if you did lose me there. How much do you think you might have lost as well, so I can reiterate anything that I said. I've just gone back over. That orange glow through there is working really well. Okay. All good, that's fine. That's fine, Megan. Good. Okay, so I want to darken up this area here. I don't want to use black, so I'm looking at what I've got. I've got a natural brown, which is lovely, and I've also got a carbon grey. So carbon grey, yeah, kind of a Payne's grey if you're working with, not even quite that. I'd say a cold grey. 5. Natural brown, Van Dyke brown. Cool. Yeah, if anything, if it does ever drop out, literally, yeah, hit the refresh button like Megan did there, and it should come back up. So I'm going to bring in some darks now, and then I'm going to be glazing over the whole piece with probably my Parmesan, maybe my peach sand, and we'll repeat those layers again. I can also see a lovely golden sun there that I want to bring in. That one looks nice, so I might bring that in as well. So let's have a look at this dark area here first of all. I'll try the brown first of all. And again, still doing that same stroke, and I'll pull this down into the dark area, and then we can bring our black in over the top if we need to. So I'm taking it down gradually. I don't want to go in too dark too quick. Simply because at the end of the day, this is supposedly a white, well, it's a white pumpkin, but obviously we're not thinking of it as a pumpkin, we're just looking at the shapes. A little bit of brown through there, yep, that's fine. But hopefully you can just see, I mean, I'm not focusing on what this is. I haven't got to worry about the character as much. It's not an animal that I'm drawing. Although to be honest, when I was looking at this, I added some of this brown down that stem, which is quite nice. I like that. So when I was looking to choose a photo, yeah, the lighting was lovely on this, but it kind of reminded me of my two donkeys as well, in some strange way. It was just like two cheeky little pumpkins together. So maybe they have got character. You could add character to them. That needs some lovely green in through there and some highlights as well. Okay. So I need to mix some of that grey in with this as well. Bring in that carbon grey. So I can see it's starting to smooth out nicely. So when you were saying about how do I make it smooth, well, this is starting to, where I'm building the pigment, it's starting to fill the tooth. Gradually. So I'm going to do a few little squiggles here because there's a bit of a denty pattern. So little loose scribbles there. Yeah, I haven't used too many of the colours. I mean, here's all the colours I pulled out. I've got all these here that I haven't used yet. Okay. But I know, like I say, I've got the reds and oranges and a lot of these leaves and everything all needs refinery and brightening up and etc. So, and again, because I'm working on the anthracite, it's going to look slightly different if you're working on, say, the white or the sienna. And it's quite funny because, like, you know, I start out doing this and I'm under the same pressure as you because I'm like, oh, is it going to work? I've never drawn pumpkins before. Everything's the same. It's all the same. It's all about adjusting your strokes to suit, but you just go in and you go, right, let's get my tonal values in, let's get my shapes in. Just treat everything the same from the start. You texturising, etc. You do all that at the end. But don't go, oh, but I can't do this because it's fur. I can't do this because it's that. I can't do this because it's something shiny. Just treat everything exactly the same. Shapes, tones, colours. Just don't put too much stress on yourself, honestly. But like I say, I do. I'm like, oh God, but you know what? If I've never drawn a pumpkin. Coming on here and I'm showing you how to draw a pumpkin. I've not drawn a pumpkin before. What if it doesn't look like a pumpkin? We're having fun. I'm not thinking about it being a pumpkin. It kind of looks like a pumpkin. It's fine. We're fine. We're doing okay. I think it looks like a pumpkin. To go to that. Watch this later. Thank you so much for joining anyway. Oh, hi Ben. The colour is looking good. Watching for a long time. Fabulous. Fab. Great to have you in. Doesn't matter how long you're in for, and I hope you get back. So now I'm bringing the granite. No, it's carbon grey. So that grey, I'm bringing that in now. See, can you see, like, we've got some of these shadows. So I'm putting some hints of the shadows in subtly, and I'm going to bring this in over a lot of this shadow area on this side. So I'll come up over some of that highlight area as well. Everywhere that I can see. I'm using this for the initial shadow. And it kind of matches the anthracite pastel matte, this carbon grey, actually. It's quite nice. So I'm going to glaze it over some of that white area as well. I'll use it because we need to fill the tooth. If we keep putting white on white, it's just going to look grainy and grainy and grainy. It will never sink down. So I definitely need something darker through here. So I'm probably going to have to pull in. I haven't got, I think the black. I've got the darker grey. There is a darker grey. It doesn't look very much darker on there though. So I think I'm going to have to use the black as a shade. We'll see. Let me just do all the grey first of all. See where that brings us. Megan, have we got some spam coming in there? I think you can block them. Got spam. There we go. I've hidden that user now, so they if they post anything else, Megan, they shouldn't be seen. It might be a way of blocking them off the channel as well. I think maybe it's like bots come in, they pick up that there's a live stream going on and they just spam. So I wasn't looking at the screen, so I have no idea what appeared there. If it was anything offensive. I do apologise. You get some random idiots, let's say, out in the world. Yeah, so that is softened up beautifully, but we need a little bit more depth there. But before I do that, before I tweak the darks anymore, I'm going to come in and I want to glaze over the whole lot. So I'll do this and then I'll stop for a minute just to get a drink. So if you want to watch this bit, this is the bit that's kind of scary but also fun if you've not tried it before. So now I am going to pick up, where's that Parmesan? So I'm now going to use this Parmesan, which is kind of like, that's okay, thanks Megan. This is my ivory colour. So I'm going to come in over the top of all the areas that is kind of like a light beigey colour. I'm also going to just bring it in over the top. This white, I'm going to bring white in again over the top as well. But I'm bringing this in as a glaze to mix and blend. And we'll take some of the dark areas too light now, but it's absolutely fine because we need to do this to fill the tooth and smooth it out. Otherwise we're just going to have a rough grainy texture and we're not going to create the lovely smoothness that we want for our pumpkin. So this is going to go a little bit more yellowy than we want, but we need to get rid of that grey, the tooth of the pastel mat. So I'll bring white in over the top. So this is already mixing now with that initial white that we put down. So let's say the white was never going to stay pure white. It was going to be a mix, and I could use a grey. So if you've used that cool grey one, it will give you a really nice foundation as well. But people are often scared to do this bit. But this is what helps us fill that tooth. Okay, I'll bring the white in over the top as well. Come over to this area. It is going down a little bit yellowy, but it's absolutely fine. Using a little bit more pressure here. Now I can see I need to bring the oranges. So all those colours basically that we started out with, we will repeat everything again. And yeah, it was starting to build like a nice form, nice little bit of a foundation. But again, it's like the leaves and that at the bottom. It was just an initial foundation. This now is going to start to really, really, really build smooth texture, depth. Pencil starting to blunt a little bit there. It's absolutely fine. There we go. So you can see I've took that over Now, I've lost a little bit of the shape of that up there, but what I can do is just come in with my black and I can self-correct that shape up around there just by coming in and giving that nice roundedness back. There we go. So I've used that Parmesan. I've glazed it quite a bit over that pumpkin. I'm going to bring a little bit down through here as well, because we've got a little bit of highlight. See, this highlight on the orange pumpkin is reflecting into some of this one. So even though this is a shadow area down here, there's still a hint of a light reflection. I'm going to use the grey as well. I've got a light grey. So I've got the platinum again. So I'm going to bring the platinum in as well. And I'm going to use the platinum to do exactly the same, but down in more of the shadow area. And then there'll be a slight differentiation between this yellowy, more creamy yellowy area at the top and the grey and more shadowy area that's not in the direct light. So you can see I've taken the whole thing really light, and then we'll just come in and we'll repeat those layers again. We'll darken it back down. And we've lost some of the colours. But this time when we go in, it will look so much more refined. I'm thinking I might bring that Parmesan. No, not the Parmesan. Morning Mist. I've got a Morning Mist. Do I want that one? No. I'm thinking about it now. Let's try that Dijon. Dijon. So this is, it's not quite a, yeah, it's a little bit lighter than a brown ochre. More of a yellow ochre. Yeah, quite close to a yellow ochre. So I'm going to bring this in next to start to build some of the colour again. But I can just suddenly see that this would look really nice in here. I'm going to bring the white in again in a minute as well. We'll bring back all of those white highlights, and then we'll bring in our darks and the colours and the mid-tones and repeat these layers. But you can see how grainy it is still? And that's what we want to get rid of. So I'm doing some squiggles of this. This is nice, this colour. This is the Dijon. Oh, it's lovely, 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 lovely. It's funny because I didn't automatically pick this colour out on the first sweep of colour. I went for the more obvious ones, but now this one is obvious to me. So I was popping that in. It's lovely, really lovely. I'm really dying just to fill this tooth. Get it lovely and smooth. You could use at this point, because you've got a nice lot of layers down, if you wanted to use some OMS, some solvents, some mineral spirits, you could, and that'll sink it down. Next week on the workshop we're going to be using a stipple brush. We'll be using a stipple brush to push the pigment down into the tooth of the pastel mat. It doesn't mean you've got less layers in, but it does mean that you can sink the pigment down into the tooth. Okay, so we've got that lovely little highlight coming down through there. Again, I'm just not looking at this as being pumpkins. Now I'm going to bring this in over the top. And then I'll bring that lovely, rich, bright orange in over the top again. I think the two will mix together really nicely there. I'm looking at the clock as well. And we've been going for nearly 2 hours. Okay. That's really nice, that colour. So let's get the white in again. Glaze it up over the top and repeat those layers a little bit, and we'll see where that leaves us. So I'd like for you to see how it smooths out before we call it a day on this one for today. Okay, sharpen up. Do I need to sharpen up? No, my white's fine. So I'm bringing the white in again here. No, Camilla, it's fine. Take your time. Just enjoy watching this for now. Like I say, you can do. I'm going a little bit quicker than normal. Good job that I've done it so small as well. So I'm bringing this in now. You can see I'm just raising up the pencil a little bit. I'm doing a little scumbles, little circular motion. Following the grain. Direction, what direction? I was going to say almost the direction of the fur then. I'm going to increase the pressure a tiny bit in places, so where I know that it's I'm not going to need to come in really with many more layers, just increasing the pressure. I don't want it to come out too white, but we do need it nice and bright. And I can always bring that parmesan or a grain over the top again. I just want you to see what happens when it starts to fill and smooth out. So that to me is still a little bit grainy. Rotating my pencil, I'm going to have to sharpen it up as well. I really want to get some of that orange back in there again now. They're going to be tomorrow, Deborah. I was at the vet's yesterday with Sherlock. And where I've been absolutely full of cold, you wouldn't have actually probably understood anything that I said yesterday. So yeah, I've got them all. They're all formatted, all ready for me to record in the morning. And then they'll be out tomorrow. Okay, so just sharpen that up across there. And you just see how many layers you can just keep popping down in here. Brighten that one up through there as well. I'm going to come in over the top again with my darks. In through that shadow area of the segment. Oh, just to think, if you'd have done this with pan pastels, we'd have finished within like 15 minutes. The joy of colour pencil, especially on textured paper. Yeah, but even down through here, like say, I know some people would leave it at this point and say, oh, it's okay, I like it, I like that. I don't mind seeing the grain. I quite like to push it that little bit further. Sherlock. Sherlock's our little boy. Our little male dog. He's doing fine. He's back in his crate. I am going to try and rig up. We've got a jacuzzi bath, like an air, blow-in bath thing, as well as a great big deep one, as well as our regular bath. So I'm going to try and rig something up and get him a new harness. We're going to get him swimming. If anyone didn't know, he dislocated his knee and also has torn his cruciate. So he's been on 6 weeks of crate rest and short walks. Was back at the vet's yesterday. Under the same instructions really for the next 6 weeks. So we're going to start to bring in. The other thing as well, my friend linked me up with was I think it's the platelet plasma treatment. So I'm going to look at that as well because he's only young. If I've got to get him operated on, fair enough. But if I haven't, and we can just get him strong enough on his own, then brilliant. Okay, can you see this is starting to smooth a little bit, but it's still not smooth enough. So it would be a case now of literally coming in and repeating what we've already done. I'm going to just sharpen up my parmesan again. That's when I come into, distracted a little bit, that's when I come into this little stem and just get some of that little highlight at the base there. Quite like that. There we go, little hint of that highlight there. So, what do we want to do? We want to get some of the colour and the shadow back in again. So, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to mix a little bit of black in through here before we finish, and a little bit of red, just to try and sink this shadow, get this lovely shadow up where it meets. Nice and rich. Look at that, that's lovely. So I'm pulling this shadow up from below. Let's sink that right back down. So think of it as just, I'm using it as to push the tone down. We don't always go this fast on a DrawAlong, I promise you. And if you want to join in or do any of the other projects, then obviously you can just jump onto Patreon. There's about, I don't know, 25, 27 projects I think, like this. But there's almost 100 in-depth tutorials over there as well. So I'm just coming up around and increasing some of this shadow again. It's funny how you just get drawn to. I've just been pulled up to that area again. Oh, and again, I might just increase, whilst I've got this dark, I'm just going to increase the centre of the depth in the centre of that pumpkin there. It makes such a difference, just that little touch, just through there. It really just increase the depth and tone again. So every time you think, oh, well, it looks okay, and then you come in again, and it's like, oh, actually, now it looks okay, but I know that I've got to do it again. A little bit, just a little glaze up through there. We're using it as a mixer, remember. Oh, and then I'll bring the orange in. I'll use the raisin, which is the reddish colour, the Kaput Mortemi colour. Yeah, with the swimming, we weren't sure because obviously the vet had said to us, oh no, he can't do that, obviously whilst he's got, obviously his leg, his injury was inflamed, etc. But now we're thinking, okay, well he's had all that rest, and he's so bored, bless him, he's doing really well. Got him some new toys yesterday, but He's not great having toys in his crate because he gets very possessive. He growls at everybody else coming looking at him. Any of the other dogs. We've got Abby being spayed in about 3 weeks as well, which will be fun. Not. Okay, so this is the raisin, the reddish colour. I'm just pulling some up. I'm going to bring the orange in again next. That lovely bright orange. Which one was it? It was the lovely flame, wasn't it? That's the one that we got the lovely result from. Let's bring that flame in over the top again. So as you can see, as you lose any colour, if you mute it down, because you come in over the top with your darks and your lights again and your glazes, just come back in, pop it back in again. I know we haven't even touched this one over here, but as you can see, this is 2 hours of work. So I'm guessing to create the whole piece we're looking at about 6 hours, and that's just a tiny little, what was it, 6 by 8 that I've done. I think it's 6 by 8. So you can see it doesn't feel like 2 hours has gone by, but you can just see how much patience that you need, and like not really, I've not really thought about the me and pumpkins at all during this. It has literally been colour, tone, well no, shape, tone, colour in that order. Now I've lost some of that lovely yellow again, so we need some of that lovely yellow again. We've lost some of the grey as well. You just see, just keep working your way up and around and up and around. Here's that sunflower yellow again. Let's get a little bit of that in. Little touches in through here. All I'm doing, exactly the same, little squiggles, popping some colour in. But can you see, you can still see that tooth, grainy tooth, you can still see some of the grey, the actual paper coming through. So I'll keep doing this, I'll keep repeating this until, if you want the grain showing through, it's absolutely fine. It's a personal choice thing. For me, I probably keep going until I've got rid of that grain. So I'll keep working. I'll put my darks in next, and then I'd come in, get those mid-tones, the rest of those colours in. I'm not getting a sharp line on here yet, so until I do, I'll just keep repeating these layers. Like I say, I've lost the definition now of the darks, so they need to come back in again. Does everyone understand what we've done so far on this and why? Soften that. It's nice. I mean, you could turn this if you wanted to. You could turn it into more of a sketch, make it more sketchily. Like I say, you could probably cross hatch down through here as well. That'd be quite nice. Just do a little bit of cross hatching. Bit more yellow down through there as well. But I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys have done. And I know it's not finished. I'd like to say we'll be able to come back on and maybe have a go at finishing it, but I can't commit. I won't be able to get it done for Halloween. That's the only thing. So let me have a think on that. See what maybe we can get planned in. This is the grey again, just the dark grey. Okay, right, I was going to blow my nose once more before I come back to you. It looks more like a a Satsuma at the moment. Okay, I popped myself back up on the screen there. Excuse me. I think my cold medicine is wearing off now. So you can just see, like I say, where we started off. Let me just drop the reference off the screen a second as well. You can see it all starting to build now. And like I say, the next thing we would do, you know, you can come in then and start. I'd get your highlights in over on this one over. This is quite addictive doing this, you know. It's really, really, really addictive. It's like you don't want to stop. So again, if you want to carry on, just carry on picking out your colours, picking out your tones, and start to bring in and get these other shapes in on your second main pumpkin here. And see if you're brave enough just to carry on your own. I want to finish mine, but at the moment, like I say, I know how busy I am the next couple of days, and it does to me look really, really sketchily still for me. I like to make mine a lot more sink the detail, sorry, sink it back down again, and fill, like I say, make sure that I really, really do fill this too. So I'm just coming in here again now with a grey, but it needs to be a darker grey. Let's have a look at that one. It's a mocha. So have a go yourself. See if you're going to carry on, especially if you're watching on the playback. Just carry on with yours and see where it takes you. I'd love to see your results. If you want to do like a hashtag, if you do, I'll pop a hashtag into the chat. So if you want to post it online, if you use this hashtag, let's have a look. Hashtag, we'll do law pumpkins. So if you pop it anywhere online, your drawings. If you're in the private group on Facebook, please do pop yours into the group. Because I'd like to see the results of what you've got so far. I'm going to zoom out a little bit actually as well on mine. Here you go, so you can just see. There we go. But to me, this is still, you know, like I say, this is just foundation work. Look at those. Look at your darks. Hit those darks first. Like I say, if you're working on textured paper, that is, get those darks in. Get your shapes in around your main subject. That's a real key thing for me as well. Then just start to look at your lights, your darks, and your colours, and just build and build and build gradually. Nice light to medium pressure on your pencils, not on your brain. Although light to medium pressure on your brain as well is good. And then, like I say, if you lose a colour, or if you lose a tone, or if you lose a highlight, you can just come in there and pop it back in again. A right mess of all my pencils here on the go. So, thank you everyone who's joined in today. I hope that you've enjoyed it. If you share a work on Instagram, do you have a hashtag you want to use, or just tag you? You can tag me. I'm not very active on Instagram, but if you use that hashtag that I've popped there as well, hashtag #LawPumpkins, I will search online for that one as well. Same as you pop it on Facebook. If you just use my name or Animal Art by Law, absolutely fine. Yeah, please do share into the groups and that as well. And if you want to join me on that jellyfish DrawAlong or any of the other DrawAlongs that I've done, or the tutorials, obviously just come over and join me on Patreon. You don't have to wait till the first of the month now, because it charges you, on the date that you join, and then the same date later in the month. We've managed to get it all changed over, which is fab. It's been great to see lots of names on here that I know today as well. A huge thank you to Megan, especially for dealing with that whatever it was, that spam that dropped in there, and Susan for coming in there as well. Really, really great there. I wish I could do it all day, but I appreciate I'm actually sinking fast with this cold. It's frustrating. And if you can go, before you go, if you haven't already, can you just hit the subscribe button at the bottom of my channel? It really helps my channel as well. Just down in the bottom you'll see my logo there as well. So brilliant. Thanks Alison, Jennifer, Sandra, Harry, Bev, Paula. It's been fun. I'm going to go and sync now, go see our little Sherlock. And hopefully, I mean, like I say, I just don't mind doing this not around Halloween. Maybe we can come back to this one next month sometime, because it's November on Tuesday. And maybe I can do it over on Facebook as a live stream over on there or something. I'll keep you posted, because it'd be nice to get this little one finished anyway. Okay? I'll speak to you all again soon. All take care, and thank you so much. Alright then. Bye bye for now.